Okay.
Okay, I have 1:30. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order, December 23, 2020. Council meeting, we are here to wrap up the year a bit.
Is there a continuance or?
No,
Maybe.
this will be a final version, but if we can, Vicki, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'd bow with me, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that we could come together as council and pray always for your wisdom and all that we have to have decided before us. And just we ask that we be about your business as well as our community's business, and help us to be kind to another this season and in the coming year. Thank you for just the blessings you give us, the help that you give us. Pray that special anointing and protection on those who need your healing touch right now. And just ask that you be with us today as we conduct the county's business. It's in Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Okay, thank you all for coming. We normally have a quick meeting. We do have a couple of things on the agenda. First of all, we have minutes from our prior meeting. If anyone had any questions or comments or additions to that, if there is none, I take a motion to approve the prior minutes.
Motion to approve minutes.
Seth is a second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 7. Minutes are good. All right, we had a few transfers. I assume everybody got a copy of those and had a chance to look through those accordingly.
Yes.
And I, of course, mentioned to Lisa, if we can, the first department heads didn't come if they didn't have any specific questions on it. So, did anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns on the transfers as they were presented? Seeing none, would there be a motion to approve those additions? Those transfers, do we have any?
So,
Oh.
So moved.
Second? Okay, Jim, second. Okay, those in favor of the transfers, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 7-0. Okay, so, we have big news today. We have Roy here today. There was an option, the commissioners and myself, we negotiated deliberately to get a project together, something that we could at least review before the end of the year, and I thank the commissioners for their efforts to do so. We put something together that we hope will fit the bill for at least a start to the highway project, at least the next phase. Roy is here. Does anyone want to have Roy come up and give any specific information? He can, by all means, please do.
The only thing different, I placed before you, and I just drafted this morning, a resolution. Lisa asked me about it, and I said, I think you just need to show in your minutes that you approved it, and I thought about that more. This real estate transaction is a little different in that the county is both buying and selling, or the technical word, disposing of real estate. So the section on buying, you've already done your part by a long time ago designating property the county wanted to acquire. However, in disposing of the property, since it was appraised for over $50,000, it requires council approval for the disposition. So at least that we started out with that, with the appraised value. So I drafted the resolution for council's consideration to show that you have approved the form of the option that the commissioners have approved and have signed. So that's why I drafted the resolution. And if that's successful, then the resolution says a copy of the option, not a signed one, but just what you approved, the form of what you approved is attached to the resolution. So that's what we have submitted to you. I'll remind you, this is an option, it's not a purchase agreement, so it still calls for the option to be accepted or triggered by the commissioners, and there's a lot of work back and forth to be done yet, but at least it, in my opinion, gives the county a lock on that 20 acres and allows us to proceed to do our due diligence to make sure that it's a suitable site. Don't have any reason to believe it isn't, but that's our due diligence, and then proceed to do that. It does call for execution by the Mossberg, so we'll need them to sign, and it calls for the county to tender a $10,000 down payment to the title company. So there's still a lot to be done, but it's nice to see some progress towards that goal.
So Roy, there is no sunset on this auction? It's always open?
No, there's a time limit on how long.
And what is that? I read, but I haven't seen it.
6 months.
Okay.
6 months, and it can be renewed for another consideration. There's also a time on, if it's exercised, then the county has to vacate the present garage in 12 months. I know we talked about 12 or 18,
Okay.
so, yeah. So, yeah, there's a time limit for the exercise of that. It's not prudent to tie up land forever.
Am I right, Roy, just to refresh my memory, this is obviously the option, so would there also the next step, if that was suitable, everything was agreeable, as it goes forward, then there'll be a purchase agreement?
Well, this is the purchase agreement.
Okay, so
It's an option, but
converts
if
over
it's
to a purchase
exercised, here's the terms. You know, we
So
don't
it
say,
converts over.
we want an option to buy it, and then when we exercise it, say, now let's talk about the terms, so.
So as far as
yeah.
council goes, this will be the only time on this particular item that we would be
Yes, sir.
voting on for approval.
Right.
And I would open that up for anybody to have any public comment on the topic or the process or where we are here. I mean, at this stage, I will be off council, so I'll be working to go ahead and secure a survey and move that far along. But before we even get to there, you know, I guess I'm looking for people's input ahead of that.
Well, as I said the other day, I'm extremely happy with what I've read so far. I'm full bore ready to go.
My only comment would be, to the commissioners, is 18 months enough time, once the clock starts, for us to get that project finished and vacate the current garage? It seems like the way government moves, it seems like a very fast track.
Just to interject, do we gain 6 months because of the, I guess it depends when the option's signed, then the 18 months kicks in,
I
right?
think the 18 months is probably for closing.
For closing part.
So if you've got 6 months to exercise the option.
Because it is a pretty fast movement there.
Well,
If,
yeah, I
you know,
don't
if there's a
know.
couple hiccups in there.
I don't know Mike's timeframe.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
you
I'll-
want it done in 10 days, or if you want it done by July the 4th. So,
Well, I know that you'll have to we'll do a survey, you'll have to get a soil boring, and Nate, you may be able to comment on any extra work that has to be done ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, based on the time of year we're looking at, if you're gonna get the survey for the split, you're probably gonna have to get APC to approve the subdivision, because it'll be a minor subdivision. You're probably looking at 30 to 60 days at minimum before we'd be ready for closing.
Okay.
And that would give us enough times to get the geotech and get that done, but there's gonna have to be some steps done. I mean, we can't decide in June how we're gonna proceed, that's going to be a problem. With this approval, I'm preparing to go to commissioners as far as steps of what actions we need to take and get a timeline established. It doesn't give us a lot of slop, but it's attainable. Is there options for extension on that,
Yes.
18 months?
Yes, as I recall, Nate, or.
With penalty, right?
Well, I can't speak for Mossbergs, but I think they just wanted to see that you're not just buying the real estate, you're gonna do something with it.
Totally agree with that.
yeah, the total thing was, we
Yeah.
don't wanna buy real estate to buy real estate.
Oh, I totally agree.
There you go.
Yeah, and I think we wanna move, I think everybody wants to move, I just.
There are other things, like we gotta make sure we can extend city utilities.
Sure.
I
yeah.
think on both ends, the selling and buying may require rezoning.
Did they get a copy of this checklist, Roy, when we talked about what?
I sent it out to
Okay,
council.
yeah, we got it.
So you've got a roadmap to a positive outcome is where we are. So, and as I say, you know, I'm confident that as long as we are moving this process forward.
I've also talked with, for the past 2.5 years, I time to time talk with somebody at Barnes and Thornburg on municipal financing. I updated him, and he said, well, because I think you had asked the auditor, what's our bond limits?
Right.
You know, so I talked to him, and he says, well, I wish I could give you a simple answer, but it depends on what you want it to be. Like, is it a county debt, and how's it being paid? Is it being paid with tax revenue or something else, weight money? So there's a lot of moving parts there, and he said, and this is when I talked with him Friday before the Monday commissioners meeting and joint executive session, I said, hey, you know, whenever you can give us a timetable. So he said, well, I've got one that I've given to other communities. So I said, fine, send it to me, and I'll send it to council. We're trying to just show council that we're just not saying, turn us loose and we'll wander in the wilderness, but we want to have some pathways and guidance on some steps we need to take to keep on this to complete it.
Well, I'd say, I know that you have a checklist, and to your point, time-wise, I'm pretty confident that some issue with being out of that building is not going to be on my side driven that way. I just know that for me, and I've been here 7.5 years, I know how government moves too. But I do know that, like Congress, with deadlines, they do try harder. And that's something that for everyone, when they have deadlines, they're driven at a different pace. And that's not a bad thing. It's sometimes just the inherent nature of government. I can't say that I would differ with your opinion on that, but I'm confident that if steps are moving forward, that's not going to be an issue.
Appreciate that.
And I can say that clearly. It's not, the intent was to get the ball moved, and we're doing that.
And us as a commissioner, that's our intent also.
Yeah, and that will be on my side as well. As soon as the survey is done, it's, you know, we're as fast as it can possibly go. So, and I'll drive it from the outside as much when I'm not here. So, if at all possible.
And I feel like we're all wanting a project to move forward, and that's our goal. I think sometimes we have little hiccups because we have no control over those things. So I think if we're all willing to work with those timelines and try to get everything accomplished in a timely fashion, I think that's great. There might be some hiccups, and hopefully there's not, but, you know, I think we can get it through and
I
work
think
through
so
it.
too. I do. I really do. I'd say with the goodwill here to move this along, and I know where the commissioners were with it, and I'm on this side of the table today, but a week from now I'll be on the other side. And I'll want to see it done just as aggressively from the other side. So, as I say, from my point of view, we need to get this done, and by all means, we will. So I'm very pleased to see that we're able to get to that place. And I say we have the process, we have the procedure, and at this point, there may be some wrangling with what method of financing. You know, I've thrown out those notions. I've said, sell the county farm, put a down payment on it, pull a housing credit, and relative to the jail, look into what the pod thing is. Maybe you bond it all together, maybe not. But, you know, that would be for this body to decide well past my.
And that was gonna be my question for Blake, is that obviously this will push the jail's time frame back, which is, I assume, fine. It's not urgent what needs to be done there, right? I know they came with a full proposal, very laid out, but
The pod really isn't that super present, but the internal.
But tying that to the same bonding, because obviously you don't want two bonds for two projects like this, right? So you want to bond them
Talking with
together.
Barnes and Thornburg, it said, well, if you're worried about caps and what is a petition,
Right.
what's a remonstrance limit,
Yeah.
they might say, do it separate, and you've got separate controls over that. But I don't know. the
I would
answer.
say
But
that
that
if you
costs
will
are
have
separate
the options.
significantly more though, right?
What's that?
The bonding costs are separate significant more, right? From Baker Tilly when they were in here, if you do two separate bonds, I mean, you're talking more, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So that's what I'm saying, if we
that's
divide it-
that's two separate bonds as opposed to
One
a
big
lease
one.
purchase.
Oh, okay.
You know, the present jail that's how it was financed.
So we may not need to do two separate
By a
bonds, one could be
lease.
done through a lease process, the other one could be a bond.
The people
Okay.
that know that should be able to tell us
Right.
one or two projects and bond or lease purchase or whatever. And when I said, well, you know, we've got maybe $1 million left from the state on 301. We've got, the commissioners have indicated if they're willing to sell the county farm if the money goes to this. So it's like, well, and I said, is that something that we could do and pay it down? He says, no, you don't screw around with bonds, because the
Right.
investor's gonna want that return for a fixed time period, so
Well, unless we're provision for the bonds, you can't do it anyway. Yeah.
there's
so-
just a lot of things we're juggling.
But the lease rent option, lease to purchase option is a very practical one. And that's
Yeah,
something
no,
that we
I-
had the RQK people in, and they gave us that pathway for that, and I think the commissioners took an action to go to put that out there for us, and I thought we'd approve that as well.
Well,
So
and
there
they-
are all the tools on the table.
Right.
It's a
They
matter
said-
of what method makes the most sense. Again, I like the concept of not bonding as first choice because they charge a lot to do that.
Right, that'd be the process, not the bond, but if we end up
Yes.
bonding both, we better do them together,
Right.
not separate. That's all I'm
Exactly,
getting at.
and that's exactly right.
So as long as we don't have to, I agree with you, Mike, the less bonding we can do,
Absolutely,
the far better off we are.
absolutely.
I think
Okay.
we're all on board to doing it in the most cost-effective manner.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's just exploring all the options.
Yeah.
So, but as I say, did anyone want to add any more comment to this, Jim? Did you have anything on this?
No, really, I think everybody's.
Okay.
I'm excited about it.
Okay.
It needs to get done.
It does need to get done.
Too long.
I look back, I wasn't here when the jail new project was done, and there may be some level of consternation with any borrowing or spending or big spending. They did a jail, we've done a library, we've made these big commitments before. And as I say, the employees of the highway are as important as every other county employee. And I don't think that, even when we comment about remonstrance and things of that nature, the case is clear. It isn't something that even in a discussion with a group of people that would disagree, they can't make a good case for staying with what we're doing. So, even if you did have that as an issue, it just adds a little more time to the process. But by all means, I think the positive outcome is still to get this done. And that's, again, I'm trying to do all my part as I can before I'm out. And I'm glad that it's on the table in front of us. So if no one has any other comments, questions, issues, I would take a motion to approve as Wells County Council Resolution 2020-19, approving an option to purchase or exchange agreement for the purchase of real estate for a new highway garage.
So moved.
Project.
Second.
Seth has made that motion.
Second.
Vicki has seconded it. Those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 7-0. Motion carries. That is great news. Miscellaneous business.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
I'd like to thank everyone for my time
Thank
here.
you, Mike.
I really enjoyed doing this. Like I said, I feel like I leave now with everything that I wanted to get done, and I'm happy that that's come to pass, and even happier that it was a unanimous, because that's important. As I said, again, this project has been out there for a long time, and this council taking the step to move forward in 2020, the year of COVID of all things, is a testament to government still getting it done. So, to all of those, I guess at this point, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Vicki made the motion.
Second.
Oh, so everybody's ready to second it. Okay. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.